the American people donated and they voted and they fought to win this election in 2024, and they gave us full control, the White House, the House, and the Senate. And to me, that means something. It means something on such a deep level that I take that responsibility very serious. And I'm deeply angry. I'm deeply disappointed. I'm actually to a level of pure disgust that we are wasting the opportunity that we have and not solving the problems. And the problems they're big, but I think we have this one-time chance and it's being thrown away. And so I do understand the, screw the government, leave it shut down, we don't care. But I also look at it and I'm like, well, we got to fix Obamacare because that totally screwed everyone's health insurance. Social Security is literally going to be insolvent in less than 10 years. We should be fixing that. And those are just two examples. And I'm so angry at my own party. And I'm angry at all the men in leadership in the House and the Senate. And I'm like, you guys are weak and pathetic. And so that is my viewpoint, because I'm a business owner and I think of these are our customers, and we have a responsibility to serve our customers, and we have a responsibility to take care of our employees. And then also I'm a mom, and I think you always take care of your children. No matter what, you go above and beyond to take care of your kids and make sure they're safe, make sure they're, everything about it is good for them and their future. And I'll just tell you, I'm beyond pissed off at my own party and the leadership in the House and the Senate that they are totally blowing it.
That was Marjorie Taylor Greene yet again calling out Republican leadership as it becomes abundantly clear that they have no plan whatsoever for healthcare. And the reason why is quite obvious. Mike Johnson and Republicans have no plan to address the fact that if they get their way and the government reopens with no ACA extension, no Affordable Care Act extension, then 24 million Americans are going to see increases in their healthcare subsidies, including Republican constituents. That might mean healthcare is 2 times more expensive, 3 times more, 4 times more, or even 5 times more expensive, as was the case with one of Senator Ruben Gallego's constituents in Arizona, whose monthly premium is set to rise from $514 a month to $2,435 per month. In other words, an extra $24,000 a year, basically another mortgage, all because Republicans are hellbent on destroying the ACA and, frankly, don't really give a shit what happens next because they've had 15 years to come up with an alternative to the ACA, and so far, this is what we've got.
If the government reopened tonight, would Republicans have a plan to address the Obamacare subsidies?
Yes.
You would have a plan
we
tonight?
Have proposals to... we could have that ready immediately. Yes. Yeah, because here's the thing. We work in a deliberative public body, and we have hundreds of members. It's a very complicated, very complex issue that requires a long time to build consensus around. We have ideas on the table, and the whole process of the legislative body is to build consensus around it. That's why we have to do that, and that's what we've been planning to do all along. It was never possible or appropriate to have this decided on a CR, a simple stopgap funding measure for 7 weeks, a clean continuing resolution. The Democrats know that, and they are not being truthful about it. And take Whip Clark's words for it. They shut the government down, and they're using hardworking American families who she says will suffer, and they know it, as leverage for this political game.
If it takes a long time to build consensus, why not bring the House back to talk about the plan that you say you have to fix health care?
Because the House has done its job. The House passed the CR. We did it over a month ago. And we need Chuck Schumer and the Democrats to do what they have always done. They did it 13 times during the Biden administration, 13 times. And Chuck Schumer did it most recently 7 or 8 months ago in March of this year. And he gave an impassioned speech on the floor and said, that's the only possible outcome. You could never possibly shut the government down because it would be dangerous and it would hurt real Americans. Well, he was right then. He is not being honest now.
That was last week. And yet here we are this week, and surprise, surprise, there's still no plan. And Marjorie Taylor Greene is done pretending that this is fine. Following a House GOP conference call this week, she came out and wrote, quote, I demanded to know from Speaker Johnson what the Republican plan for healthcare is to build the off-ramp off Obamacare and the ACA tax credits to make health insurance affordable for Americans. Johnson said he's got ideas and pages of policy ideas and committees of jurisdictions are working on it, but he refused to give one policy proposal to our GOP conference on our own conference call. Apparently I have to go into a skiff to find out the Republican healthcare plan. The reality is that there is no Republican healthcare plan. If there was, we would have seen it sometime between now and the last 15 years. The actual plan is that Republicans just don't want the ACA. Why? 2 reasons. First, they hate Obama, and they view the ACA not as a program that helps Americans, but rather a reflection of Obama's success. And their disdain for Obama is stronger than their desire to help Americans. So if that means tens of millions of Americans have to suffer while Republicans hobble the ACA for political purposes, that's clearly a price they're willing to have us pay while they score their political win. But second, they simply do not care about healthcare. Remember, this is a party that just cut healthcare to the tune of $1 trillion. They stripped Medicaid from 17 million Americans, and now they're ensuring that ACA premiums double, triple, quadruple, or times 5 in 2026. Again, they do not care about healthcare. If they did, they wouldn't be behaving exactly the way they're behaving now. So look, I'm going to make this all very, very simple. If the Democrats give the Republicans the few votes they need to open the government, there is nothing other than Republicans' word to ensure that they will extend those ACA subsidies to prevent healthcare costs for 24 million Americans from surging. The Democrats have a little bit of leverage here, so they're using that little bit of leverage to ensure healthcare doesn't become unaffordable. Pretty reasonable, right? Republicans like Mike Johnson are amplifying some legitimately sad stories about government workers going without pay, and those stories are certainly bad. But what's worse is that the government reopens with no ACA extensions, and now those same people are paying 4 or 5 times the price for healthcare. So if Mike Johnson truly cares about those people whose stories he's perfectly content to exploit, then he should make sure that they don't get screwed over by his own party. Remember, those poor, innocent little Republicans have agency here. They could sit down with Democrats and extend ACA subsidies today so that Americans can continue to afford their health coverage. And they could do it right now. If Mike Johnson is as concerned as he pretends to be on TV and as he pretends to be during his conference calls, then he should sit down with Democrats right now and figure out how to extend those subsidies to get the government back open. That's how to get Democratic votes. That's how to get the support of the vast majority of the American people. In fact, if Democrats capitulated and reopened the government right now without a deal in place, then what leverage do Democrats have? Republicans' word that they're just definitely, totally going to negotiate a deal? Trust us? The people who've spent the last decade trying to destroy the ACA are going to be the ones to voluntarily fix it, but only when Democrats have zero leverage? Come on. And that's a point that I made on air on News Nation. Democrats are using what little leverage they have, because they need Democratic votes to get this thing done, to restore ACA subsidies that will mean that Americans don't endure 75 to 100% increases in their health care.
I hear you. I guess the counter argument to that, Brian, would be, and this is something that's been echoed, are you going to support one initiative or one group at the expense of the other? You talk about health care. This is something Mike Johnson says, well, what about FEMA? What about the CDC that's affected? Why not agree to a continuing resolution for immediate funding? You negotiate Obamacare, the tax credits at a later date. If you think about what the cost is going to be at this point, why not more Democrats sign on to the 2 that already went across the aisle?
Because they know Republicans won't negotiate those things. This is the same Republican Party that just cut $1 trillion in health care from Americans. Do we really think that these are the people that are going to come down and sit at the negotiating table to make sure that we can restore these ACA subsidies? This is the same Republican Party that just cut Medicaid from 17 million Americans and food assistance to the tune of $350 billion. Those are the people that we're going to trust when they say, don't worry, just sign on to this continuing resolution and we'll definitely get onto the negotiating table to make sure that Americans get health care. These people have shown you who they are. At this point, we have to believe them. The reality here is actually quite simple. Mike Johnson doesn't want to protect the ACA, which 24 million Americans rely on. He and his party hate this law that enabled millions of Americans to get coverage. They do not believe in healthcare as a right. This is their way of destroying it from within, allowing it to become so expensive that it becomes less popular and therefore easier for Republicans to destroy with their own plan that they've had 15 years to uncover, and yet here we are still waiting for it to materialize. But he knows that if he relents here and extends those subsidies, that'll undermine the Republicans' long-term plan. And so instead, he'll pretend that he and his party are the victims at the hands of the big bad Democrats, and that all they need to do is hand over what little leverage they have to the Republicans, and then just totally trust me to the GOP when they say that they'll work with the Democrats on healthcare. What could possibly go wrong when trusting the people who just stripped $1 trillion from healthcare in the last budget to do right on the American people when it comes to their coverage? So look, if Mike Johnson and Republicans want to gut healthcare, That's their prerogative. But at least have the balls to admit it. At least have the balls to own your own position. Do not pretend that you guys are helpless here. The Democrats are asking for one thing, very transparently, something that, by the way, helps Republicans. According to Kaiser Family Foundation polling, Americans want Congress to extend the expiring Affordable Care Act credits by a staggering 78% to 22% margin. Nearly 8 in 10 Americans side with the Democrats here. Mike Johnson can fix this in one day if he wanted to. But he doesn't. And that is the point. So if you're a Republican out there and you don't want your healthcare costs to double or triple or quadruple or even more, do not take it from me. Take it from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's able to do what Mike Johnson and the rest of the GOP won't. The goal of these Republicans is not to find a solution. It is to exact as much pain as possible, and they have no plan to change that. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.